All right, welcome back to Ozarks Live. Now, Tom is out this week, but before he left on vacation, he got to sit down with John Sellers, the executive director of History Museum on the Square.
And they got to talk about, well, all things history, as you probably guessed.
Yep, so let's join the conversation.
Welcome back. I'm at one of my favorite places in Springfield, and that is the History Museum on the Square. And if you want to know stuff, even if you just see him out on the street, you want to know stuff, this is a guy to talk to right here. John Sellers, the executive director here. Good to see you.
Good to see you. We love to have you here because you fit in so well with all our old things.
Are we going to cut that part out? Yeah, probably not. Okay.
Okay, moving on.
Now, John, of course, history, you know, everybody assumes that history, the way it was, is always correct. And we're finding out more and more and more. No, it's not. And one of the things that you do here is you make sure the facts are the facts. And one of the facts about being in this area, in Springfield especially, is just because it was your grandma's address and you're in the same house, not necessarily the same address.
Yeah.
How do you keep track of all this stuff?
Well, we've got a couple of different methods. The best method we have is a great big book of maps that was published by a company called Sanborn, and they worked with insurance companies to determine what kind of building materials were in every building in a community. And they would make a Sanborn book for this community and keep it updated so that if you're an insurance underwriter and somebody wants insurance on a building, back in the days before the internet, you could go to this book for whatever town it was and look up and say, well, yeah, that's perfect. It's a brick building, it's fireproof, but every building around it is made out of wood. It's going to have, you know, their fire insurance rate's going to be a little higher.
Going to be a little different.
So
this was just put together to keep track of material.
Keep track of the building materials and the buildings, the shape of them, how close they were to each other.
Yeah.
It's all done to scale. And the books are an absolute fount of knowledge because they show the detail of porches and outbuildings and everything that was on a given lot in parts of the city.
But now that was back then. You've had to kind of, I guess, put addendums to these things.
The book, when it was originally published, there were iterations of it through the years, all the way back into the 1800s, and then it would be updated, and it would be updated, and every time it was updated, then there would go years where they didn't publish a new book. What they would do is send out broadsheets, just big sheets of paper, and you would have to cut out the changes and then paste them over where they went inside the book. So the book we have was actually published in the 1930s, but it was updated through the years all the way up into the mid-1950s. And the pages are incredibly thick and stiff now because of all the different layers of changes pasted onto it.
So is this a way then also to say, okay, this building is here now, but 40 years ago, this building stood on that site?
Yeah, you can do that. And also the best thing about it is in 1947, the city was really starting to grow. You know, they had expanded from Grand Street south to Sunshine in 1926, and then they were getting ready to move on south, and the city was taking on a tremendous amount of expansion. And there were a lot of the major thoroughfares that, because of the way the city had grown, they were not an accurate cross street on every street. So you might have one street that it would break the 1,000 block. It'd be 1,000 on one side of the street, and then when you cross that street, it would be the 1,100.
Right.
Well, the next street down from it, one way or the other, would be the 1,200 block and the 1,300 block at that same street.
No uniformity.
So no uniformity. So like I lived at 738 St. Louis Street. Well, in 1947, when they standardized all the numbers, my house number became 938.
And that's happened all through the city?
Yeah, all through the city. Every part of the older part of the city, everything inside Grand Street, and then, you know, the borders of the original old city. Those numbers were unified so that there was a standard break at all of the major thoroughfares, east, west, north, and south.
1100 block, you know what block it is.
You know where it crosses some major thoroughfare.
But it even goes further. I mean, you have the book to tell, you know, how buildings were and how they moved around.
Right.
But you also have ways of looking at who owned those, who lived in those.
Oh, yeah. We can tell you who lived in that building. We can tell you who or what business was in that building. We do that with our city directories. And we've got city directories all the way back to the 1870s and then all the way up through to today. And they just get thicker and thicker, but they give you so much more information. And that's what's wonderful about them, because they'll tell you who lived there, what kind of business they were in, what they did. And it's really a tremendous amount of background and knowledge.
And that's the way true history is made. You always go back to fact.
Right, right.
All right, if people are looking for more information about the History Museum, all the things you have to offer, how can they find it, John?
They can get us on our website, which is historymuseumonthesquare.org, historymuseumonthesquare.org, or our Facebook page, which is the same. Or they can, if it's a day when we're open, give us a call, and you can get the hours off of our phone number, which is 831-1976.
Pretty simple.
Very simple.
John, thanks for having us by.
Thank you.
You need to come by too. History Museum on the Square. It is a great place to get lost in history.